Welcome back to the Creating One podcast. I received a question, came to me for a topic on the podcast, and it was about the independent woman. This came from a gentleman, a collective. I've seen this countless times on other social media outlets, and the independent woman who doesn't ask her man or doesn't rely on her man or makes her man feel like he has no purpose to serve in her life, or he doesn't approach independent women because he feels she will not need or require him. Let me unpack the pathology behind that from a man's perspective, as I was told, and from my observation. People in general need to set aside the visual to observe the people who pour into them and the people who take away from them, the people they have to constantly pour into. There's no reciprocal relationship there. Because at some point in time, whether we invest a little or a lot, we are going to come to rely on each other. That's why we are all down here. Everybody is going to use everybody at some point, okay? It's going to be the people who use you the least or pour into you the most are going to be the relationships that you're going to want to hold fast to during these times. We are in a very narcissistic culture. You notice when people are starting to use those words, you're seeing a lot of content creators making videos and stuff. Narcissism is a personality disorder, but it is also on a spectrum. On one end of the spectrum, it's narcissism. On the other end is empathy. And your goal is to try to come towards the middle, okay? To strike the balance. And when it comes to men and their concern and disdain sometimes for independent women, I want to give you a quick study. If a woman is independent and you say you've known her for 20 or so odd years or whatever, or 5 years or whatever, you've known her quite a bit of time and you can pretty much set the clock by her. You know that she could be your friend, she could be your partner, she could be your wife, she could be whatever. I've seen men make this mistake very often, that they'll say that, independent woman, they won't even let you change the light bulb, or they don't need you, they'll leave you quickly. All of these things are your insecurities rising to the surface, okay? And it's been rising to the surface for decades. This is why we have a huge group of men crying out of not being able to find a good woman, a woman who wants to help them. The reality is that you likely had that woman in your life, multiple of them, because remember, you're speaking about the modern woman constantly. You're vexed by the modern woman who has no respect, the modern woman who doesn't have femininity. Women do not want to be masculine. Women have evolved to be androgynous because men have not been successfully standing to their foot. When I say standing to their foot, that means in their full manhood. 20 reasons why they can't do what they're supposed to do, not be there the way they're supposed to be there, but they're there for everybody else, okay? And we know that the world is full of needy people, and the world is full of people that you need to fix. You have people in your charge that you need to take care of. You have work responsibilities. You got a child with special needs. You got all these things, a needy extra needy mother, or you got all these people who constantly pull and drain you. And you also have this independent woman in your life who you are admiring, loving, but ignoring the fact that there might be a day that comes where she might not be able to carry the load. She just may not even need you to carry anything. She just maybe needs your ear to listen. And I've been in relationships with some of these men who will make these declarations, especially when they see, they will see, cannot see a woman's potential till she strikes out and buys a home. And then when she buys the home, says that she doesn't have any need or desire for me. Why is it that you can't see her purpose until she actually manifests something material? We live in a world that is so heavily guarded and so materialistic that we measure people's value by the amount of material things that they can manifest. You want a woman to depend on you, but you don't ensnare her before she leaves home and goes out onto her own. Whether she be in an apartment, whether she be in her own home, she's paying the bills if her name appears solely on the lease or on the mortgage. You want to see her potential, but then when her potential manifests, you're now offended by it. You don't know what to do with it. That's not a reflection of her. That's a reflection of you. You have no idea what it is you want. And for a lot of us who are out here crying and complaining about this, you're stuck in a time warp between old tradition, current tradition, and where we're evolving and moving to. So in order to be present and understand, when you meet a woman, find out what it is that she wants and what she needs, and then observe her. So now let's get back to she not needing you or not depending on you. If she asks you for your time, let's say she says, okay, I know you're busy, you got A to Z to do, you got work, you got your other children, you got whatever. You have one day a week or 1 hour, not the whole day, because trust me, an independent, busy woman does not need all your time. Neither does she want it. She's too busy building and doing her own thing. Do not break a date with her. If you put a date on the calendar, let's say it's the 7th of every month, or every day that's multiplied by 3, whatever it is that you have, whatever that date is, whatever the amount of time is, if her love language is quality time, do not have your device out. Do not have your, your computer out. If she just might want to have your attention and time to talk. Maybe she wants to have a date where you go out and you do a couples massage or go hiking. Whatever it is that she asks of you, if it's within your power to do it, don't look at who she is and what she's able to do. And do not look at all of the other things that are, most of the things that you are feeding in your life, men, you're feeding into ground that's not going to return harvest. Okay? It's not. Because as a provider and a protector, a man's man, he's doing more pouring out than pouring in. So the woman who is pouring into you, that is regenerating you, be a spirit or whatever resources that she has, you cannot drain her to the level which she's going to have to leave that relationship, spiritually or physically, to be refilled. She's not going to get her refill from you if you're constantly pouring everything out to everybody else. So if she asks you, can you change the light bulb, honey? And then 3 weeks later, the light bulb is still out. Don't let her have to go and get a ladder and put that light bulb in. Better yet, if you don't live with her, don't let her have to invite a man into that space to change that light bulb, because the more that person, that man, comes in and sees the absence of you, the lack of presence of you, he is going to start to build trust with her, and you will be easily replaced. if a woman asks you to do something for her, or she needs you, sometimes it's not so much that she needs you to do it. She wants to see what your reaction is going to be when she asks you to do it. I once asked, just to test to see, because the man insisted that he was changed, that he had matured. So I tested that, and I asked him, because this is a person who chronically always ghosted when I asked, or turned around and said no, they didn't have it. And I'm knowing they have it because they're constantly talking about what they do with other people, what they do for other people, and listing down the amount of things that they are doing for themselves. So you're not asking them to do anything like go up and paint the Statue of Liberty, because you've never seen them do it. You're asking them to go up and paint the Statue of Liberty because you've seen them do it, or you've heard them say that they can do it. Okay? So now you ask them, you're testing, because an independent woman doesn't really need you to do anything. She wants to know that when the storm comes up, that you're going to be there. That you're going to separate yourself from all the non-essential noise and show up for her. So when she asks you, can you help her pay this? Or can you come and take a look at her car because there is an issue with something that's on it? Do not ghost her. Do not ignore her, because when you do that, you realize that there are other people who can do it. She might even be able to do it herself. She may already know what the issue is with the vehicle. She may even have the part in waiting or on order. She just wants to see how you're going to move when she calls out for your help. See, very often we get into our tight spaces of control and we start focusing on controlling the wrong people in our life. There are plenty of people in your life that are going to take from you. They're going to come primarily you have set up basically a free lemonade stand. You have put it into the universe that you don't mind giving. And then the one person who you depend on for your refill, you don't show up for. So all you are telling is, so regardless of whether you say you've matured or not, see, to you, your maturity textbook might be looking different from hers. You think that you know how to take on more responsibility. And what she is saying is you're not an alpha man because you don't know how to regulate your time. You keep saying no to the woman who can do it for herself. Guess what you've done? You have outsourced yourself from the job. And if she really truly cares for you, you're not going to just you won't just see her upset with you. You will see yourself banished from her life. Because when a man reaches a certain age and he starts to continue, if he doesn't start to manifest the real true changes that he needs to change, which is what a woman wants, an alpha woman wants, she wants to see an alpha man. She wants to see alpha man mentalities. Or as the pop culture calls it, she wants to see big D energy. Okay? Big D energy has nothing to do with the size. The big D energy has to do with the spirit of the person. Only a man with a wounded spirit keeps pouring into empty cups with holes in them and doesn't have the course correction to hear the cry of a woman who never asked him for anything or hardly asked him for anything and have him ignore her. Or he uses this opportunity to put the clamp down. Put the clamp down on the empty vessels you pour into. Put the clamp down on the people who have holes in their cups. Put the clamp down on people who do not have the wherewithal or the care to pour back into you. See, it's a difference between being a person who has a charitable heart and being a person who has to always announce everything that they do. A woman who is independent does not need you most of her time. She is wired differently. And I see a lot of men out here are frustrated and angry and they're mad because they can't get this kind of woman on their team. Sometimes a woman has gone through so much struggle and so many kicks. The one man that she cares about, she needs him to maybe do nothing other than to be her cheerleader. You can't just keep draining the good people to refill your empty cup and think that they don't have, the ability to regenerate without you. Sometimes they have to spend days, weeks, years away from around you, because if you're not pouring anything back to them, they can't be around you. They have to go out and find the source or be in the space of the source that refills them. Do not use the opportunity to help a woman who has the ability to help herself. Don't use that as an opportunity to control something, because you're going to find yourself outsourced from the job.